Today, we're going to address how you can use the Hive Fabric user interface to assess performance for the end user. First and foremost, in considering performance for any VDI platform is going to be your template. Your template is bar one, the single most important thing in your VDI deployment. So make sure you get that right. Template tuning is by far the most important piece. But what does Hive Fabric do differently? And how do we provide you insight into that performance? So if we look at the user interface here, we see just right of center all of our storage pools, one of them called local RAM. So where we kind of different from a lot of the marketplace out there is your ability to take a group of desktops and place them directly in RAM. This gives your end users by far the best experience they can get as far as overall IO and latency on their desktop. Using the interface here to look at some of those measurements. So let's say, I call the help desk and I say I'm having issues with my desktop. I can just type in that username here and I see where I'm logged in. From here, I can go directly to the performance graph for that desktop. All right, so I can take a user call, quickly equate that to a desktop, and quickly go to the performance graph associated with that desktop. Here you'll see measurements from CPU to memory, storage, and network. What I really like about this approach is all of the graphs are on the same page. Now I can see what is my memory doing at the time of CPU spikes, or if I see a network spike, how does that impact my overall environment? So being able to see your performance on a single graph like this is a fantastic tool for troubleshooting. Let's take a look at my VM here. If we click on this, another tool is looking at the metadata associated with that VM. So Greg calls up the help desk and say, hey, it took me forever to log in today, whereas I time it at 8 seconds. All right, so something outside of the broker to VDI has got to be, it helps you isolate where to look, right? Because from our perspective or from the platform perspective, the user clicked on the remote access and 8 seconds later they were on their desktop. Lastly, let's take a look at host level performance. All right, so remember those graphs I just showed you, those are also available at the host level. So if I select any of the hosts here along the left of center, click on the performance graph, now I have a performance graph of my individual hosts. You see here my current CPU and memory utilization, and then kind of a historical view, right? So I see my CPU load, my local storage load. I can actually see what kind of IO is being driven out of that RAM data store that we were looking at. We can show the performance of the individual storage targets on top of the platform. So as you can see, using the Hive Fabric interface for troubleshooting, for performance monitoring, very simple, very straightforward.